second patch 2.2 banner is coming out. It's the second patch 2.2 banner, ladies and gentlemen. Who's gonna be on it? That's what we're gonna be tackling today, ladies and gentlemen. Hu Tao, the characters on the banner, the 5-star weapons that's gonna be on their own banner as well. We're gonna be giving you a little bit of TLDR, my opinion on these sort of things, and if their power level is equivalent to what you should be spending in Primo Gems nowadays in 2021, guys. As always, if you have fun here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the family. We're always growing. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's get into the content. Now, obviously, the 5-star on the banner is going to be Hu Tao. I want to talk about a couple of things, though, before you skip ahead here on the equivalence and the power level of Hu Tao in Genshin Impact today. Now, if you don't have access to Xingqiu, she's going to be a lot weaker in a top-tier quality team. I talked about any pyro DPS like that, but she really wants to be used with Xingqiu. It's going to allow you to do the N1C double vaporized combo. It's a lot of damage. Once you get the gear up there, you're talking 40k normal into like 100 to 120k charge attack on top of that. So it's a lot of damage there, and it can cleave multiple people if there's multiple people in front of you. So it can do a lot of stuff there. Now, Hu Tao's main thing is single target. She can hit like 1 or 2 dudes if they're right on top of each other, but she's mainly single target there, and she still is one of the highest damage dealing single target DPS in the game. So if you need someone that specializes in that single target damage, go for it. Excellent boss killer for those single target floors in the abyss at the end of the day there. So that's a fantastic thing there. Now, on top of that, not only is she still a good character, but on top of that, let's talk about a constellation real quick. The C1 here, Crimson Bouquet here, this one is awesome. While you're in your E form, right, where you get all your damage from, the Paramita Papaleo, you're going to not consume stamina when you use charge attacks. And this one is pretty big here because this is how you're gonna be doing a good amount of your damage is with this N1C charge attack into dash cancel animation here. So let's showcase this for you real quick here. If you haven't seen this before, go ahead. This is gonna be your normal N1C. You just hold down charge attack and you can cancel in 2 ways. You can go ahead and jump out, or you can dash out. So if you're dashing in charge attacking, you're double consuming stamina, and your stamina is going to go down extremely quickly. So what this C1 does is actually like a pretty significant DPS increase because it allows you to get more charge attacks off quicker in your form here, because this is pretty fast and you can just run back and forth and smack monsters over and over. So if you have Hu Tao and you really love Hu Tao, is that C1 worth it? In my opinion, I would say yes. It's one of my favorite C1s in the game to go ahead for. You're looking at like 15-20%-ish damage increase there, especially maybe a little bit more if you need to get around the battlefield and hit multiple monsters to sort of like ease up on that weakness of her being a single target. That thing is fantastic. The other two here, not so much. You don't really care about any of these other ones. This one right here, the C3 though, is going to get you a couple extra levels on your E, which is pretty important if you want to go all the way, if you have a 5-star weapon, because this is going to give you higher HP percent to attack increase there. Now remind yourselves though, no matter what level it is on your E, 10, 13, it still is at 400% of your base attack cap there. So if you're still using something like the deathmatch, that's probably not gonna be worthwhile to you, because instead of having like a 600 and something base attack on your 5-star weapon, you have 454 base attack on your 4-star weapon, and you're probably gonna be capping out your attack gain from your HP to attack equation from your E anyway. So the C3 might be a waste for you if you're using a 4-star weapon on her still. So that's what I want to talk about Hu Tao. Let's get into some of the other characters here. Obviously, Houma is going to be on the banner. And Houma, he's not technically out yet, but if you've seen someone like showcase Houma with some of the other characters, a lot of players out there have been testing him because you can get access to playing him if you go do and play with him in his sort of story event mode, his hangout event, I want to say. And if you've seen anyone test certain things with his E application or his alt application for his pyro attack, I want to say that is going to be very powerful if that stuff is indeed working. I don't see that getting changed. They don't really change characters that much after they've already implemented them into the game in any way, shape, or form. We've seen this before with like Yoimiya. Not really happening. No real big changes, I don't think, coming from that character. Now, his applications as a character, pyro character, shielder, and has sort of the Xingqiu-esque nature coming from him, where if you have his elemental burst up, he's going to attack with a pyro attack when your active character attacks there. So if you see anyone do any cool things with that attack from his elemental burst, sort of like Xingqiu-esque, then you're going to be able to do that probably when he actually gets released there. As far as the other 4-stars here, one of them that I want to talk about here is going to be one of my favorite ones, and that is going to be none other than my girl Diona. Now Diona, still a fantastic support character. You see her a lot of times in a lot of certain like double cryo teams because you get that ×2 resonance for the 15% crit chance against frozen or just chilled targets. So you've seen stuff like the old Eula Diona, you know, Beto, whatever team, right? fantastic applications for this character, and she does more stuff than that. So there's a couple cool things that she can do here. She has attack down, she has speed up on her icy paws as well, which is going to be amazing. Pretty big shield still, gets boosted up against cryo damage, and then on top of that you can go ahead and hold it to shoot 5 paws or press it for 2, and this works very well with weapons like the Favonius Warbow if you build it for crit, or even the Sacrificial Bow, because you're going to be able to get a whole bunch of energy particles from her elemental skill, reset it, because you're going to have 2 to 5 chances to reset that due to the fact of how this good old bow works down here, the Sacrificial Bow. Anytime it hits, good to go. Refinement rank 5, that's 80% chance to reset this cooldown 5 times, which is wild. So keep that in mind there with the Sacrificial Warbow. Now on top of that, she also does heal, like I said, with the attack down as well. And then she also does have this nice, very speed up boost. So if you still land a Dragon Strike out there, she can allow you to do that. If you don't know what the Dragon Strike technique is, go ahead and look that up. It's a fantastic thing. Pretty much, if you get down the thing, you can pretty much play any character like Zhao more or less, which is amazing. It's pretty hard to do there. If you can master it though, it's a fun thing. Now on top of this, I want to talk about some constellations for her. So we already know she's in some top tier teams, pretty flexible character, and then some constellations. She has some pretty nice ones. So if you're a multiplayer spammer, you love to play multiplayer a lot, C2 is pretty neat because it's going to allow you to shield AoE half the strength of your normal shield, but also it's going to boost up the damage of your icy paws as well as the damage absorption of them, and then give it to everyone else. So very nice constellation there. The C1 here really helps out on her good old elemental burst, costing a whopping 80 elemental energy. So that's going to be a big one if you get your hands on that. And then obviously the C6, if you're close to it, this one's pretty nice. It's going to boost up how much healing you can do with this character, which is pretty significant considering that, you know, she's like healing twice as slow as Bennett for a little bit less HP at the end of the day. But it's also going to give 200 elemental mastery, which further makes her even more flexible in some team compositions out there. 200 elemental mastery is very nice if you're staying within her sort of radius of her elemental burst there. The C4 here, sort of a waste. It's a big waste. It's reducing time of her charge shots. No one wants to do this. I don't know anyone who's ever utilized Constellation 4 on Diana. If you have, please leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to see what you're doing there. And the final 4-star I see being Sayu out here. It needs a rerun. It's going to come back pretty, recent rerun, but hasn't been able to sort of get in there. And if you already have some sort of other animal character, right? Sucrose, Venti, Kazuha, Jean out there, someone who can wear that Viridis and Veneris set, I wouldn't really recommend going for Sayu. Sayu's like a VV Animo character that does like damage and heals a little bit at the same time. Think for like a mini Jean, so to speak, except you can't yeet dudes in the air or really cleanse anything. You do have the cool little roly-poly thing, but at the end of the day, Sayu, I don't think is up there in characters. If you've seen any of the tier list videos that I've put out here, Sayu is just not up there. Now, can you do cool stuff with Sayu? Yeah, you can do cool stuff with a lot of characters in the game out there, but Sayu is just one of those characters that I just really don't care about, and I would not recommend pulling, especially if you already have access to any other animal character in Genshin Impact. Yes, you can roly-poly around. If you're gonna get her for anything there, it's gonna make your life a little bit easier if you get this nice little passive here, which is going to allow you the Hu Art Silencer secret, which makes it so like crystal flies basically are not going to run away from you as soon as you show up near them. Now the thing about this one is as soon as you pick up a fly, all the other flies are going to scatter around and away from you anyway. So not really the craziest thing. Wouldn't really go pull for a Silencer secret for that reason, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Sayu. Now let's talk weapons real quick. Obviously, if Hu Tao was coming back, we also are going to have the good old Houma coming back. So Staff of Houma, fantastic weapon here, 608 base attack, low for a 5-star weapon, but you get 66% crit damage, and you also get 20% HP from the R1 passive, and you get an additional attack bonus based off your max HP. Now, if you're above 50 plus HP, so 51 and above, you're going to get 0.8% attack bonus based on your HP. If you are sub 50% or lower, you're going to get an additional 1. So higher than 51 and higher, 8.8%, lower than that, 1.8%, which is going to be a pretty significant bump in your health there. And this is going to be a fantastic weapon for Hu Tao. Any character that scales off of HP, this is a monster weapon. There's only 2 characters right now that we really care too much about using the Houma on, and that's going to be Zhongli and Hu Tao. However, that being said, Houma is just such an efficient weapon that it's always, if you look at the people who number crunch, Houma is just up there for pretty much any polearm wearer if they're trying to do a bunch of damage out there. It's just always going to be good. It might not be the best for every character, but it's up there always just because of the crit damage on it, the free little bit of attack. Even if you're not building HP on a character, you're still getting 200, 250, maybe even 300 attack if you have a nice base HP value there. So still a fantastic weapon, and it's still worth pulling on, in my opinion. It's going to be a fantastic thing to go for. Now, the other weapon on the banner here, you know what? We're going to be calling it the bow, right? We just had a bow, but we're going to have the Elegy of the end, which if you don't have the Elegy of the end, you don't know what it is. It's that support bow weapon that has the stacks, gives an attack bonus, has elemental mastery for a secondary stat. And it's just going to be a good thing for a support bow user. The thing about the Elegy of the end of that whole series of weapons, the supporty ones, they're good, but they're so far from necessary in Genshin Impact that I think if you're pulling in that banner, right, you're going to go use the new weapon pull system. You're going to be putting your pity on Homa and just be pulling until you get a Homa, right? The Elegy of the end is still a good bow, but it's not worth pulling on. If you get it as a constellation prize, you're going to find a use for it on some bow character at some point somewhere. Free attack, a little bit EM for some characters. It's going to be a nice thing to have access to, but I really wouldn't go all in on the Elegy of the end unless you're like some, you know, super tier whale and you just want to edge out a little bit more damage, you know, 1-2% damage increase for your party when that thing procs, and you're like, oh, look at this screenshot number. I'm going to make a YouTube video. And those will be the 2 5-star weapons I see being on that banner. We're obviously going to see some of the new 4-star weapons coming out that we've seen from the 2.2 live stream, like the Wave Breaker, Spin and the Moon's Moon. These are the good old elemental burst damage weapons, which are going to be very nice, and you're going to have a lot of cool characters and acquisitions for these weapons to be utilized in Genshin Impact. If you get them, awesome. Me, I've never personally pulled on a 4-star weapon because it's such a crack shoot in Genshin, but you guys go ahead and do what you want to do there. I would tend not to do it though.